Okay, so we need more people standing up and calling out these big tech companies that are going around and bullying and intimidating anybody that doesn't fit their narrative for this climate change bullshit. We need more people realizing exactly what's going on. Okay, so for those of you out there that don't understand how they can possibly get away with some of the things that they're getting away with, you know, one thing that you need to see is that big tech and a lot of these governmental agencies and these so-called agencies in charge of our national security, let's say, and our so-called intelligence agencies are using big tech as a tool. They're putting forth this information, and they have been for decades now, about climate change and global warming and all of that. And anybody that doesn't follow along with that narrative is deemed a denier, and you're censored, and whatever. Well, this is just one example here too of how Google pulled ads on this meteorologist's website that he was using for tracking climate change, and deemed him as unreliable and harmful because what he was doing was what a lot of other scientists have been doing for like the last decade, just in case people aren't aware of it, because they've been silencing and censoring anybody opposing their narratives, and opposing their predictive model. They're silencing and censoring those people, and have been for like the last decade, because there has been plenty of scientific data that has presented itself through agencies like NOAA and NASA and the global climate change and global warming task advocates, and people that have been out there following the science and reading the numbers on the dials of the equipment that's been measuring all of this stuff. They're all saying the same thing. They're saying that we are warming. They're not denying that we're warming, but we are not warming as rapidly as they say, okay? And anybody that does not follow that narrative, anybody that doesn't follow that predictive model that was put up on the world stage decades ago by these so-called scientists who were up on their pulpits and on their soapboxes preaching to the world about global climate change and rapid warming and all of that stuff, even in recent days with tools like AOC and Greta Thunberg out there spouting off the same ass nonsense. You have to realize that that is not science, okay? Science is not developing a predictive model, putting it out there and introducing it to the public, and then going around and silencing anybody that opposes it. That's not science. You have to realize that that is not science. What Google is doing and what big tech is doing to anybody that is standing up to those predictive models, which, by the way, you have to realize that when they put forth all of those predictive models about this rapid global warming and climate change shit, they literally just millions and millions of dollars just rained down on these people. They literally sucked in millions of dollars in the name of climate change to counter these rapid global warming effects that they said was going to happen, which is not happening. And people like this guy here and several other scientists have been pointing it out for the last decade, at least that I'm aware of, that the actual data that has presented itself does not support that predictive model that they put out years ago. But you know what? They can't backtrack on that, because those are the kind of people that can't back up on that podium and admit that they were wrong, because they've already received millions of dollars, because they've already put forth and in place measures that ensures their continuity in the situation. They do not exist without this narrative, okay? That's what you need to understand. That's how they get away with it. And they get people like Google and big tech to go after dudes like this.
When Google announced late last year that they were going to start demonetizing climate skeptic websites, they talked about websites that promoted that it was a hoax,
And again, what right does Google have to go around bullying and intimidating these people on their behalf? It's a private company. They're allowed to do whatever they want. But at some point, someone needs to call them out for what they are doing. They are being used as a tool and a weapon to silence opposition and to science. This makes no sense. That is not science. People need to wake up and realize what's
say
going on.
that there's no warming occurring, which I never say, that there is warming occurring, or that say that the warming isn't partly due to humans. And I do say, I think warming is the warming we have measured, which isn't very strong, is probably at least 50% due to humans. I can't prove that.
Nobody can prove that. But even if that is the case, where is the data and the numbers that show the amount of damage that they do with their countermeasures? You know, it's another one of those things where the cure is worse than the disease, all right? Because we have invested millions into weather generation programs and weather manipulation programs, and now we're feeling the effects, and you still want to blame the consumers and the humans? That's what's going on. These people that made this prediction years ago don't want to step back up and say they were wrong.